Montemarano, conversations with the innovators, leaders, and experts who are shaping the future of human resources through cutting-edge technology. Only on the Purple Acorn Network.
Hello, I am Jada Montemarano with From the Desk with Jada Montemarano. We're discussing the trends, hot topics, and diving into tools that help organizations improve how they attract, retain, and support their people, while also sharing how job seekers can land the perfect role during this tumultuous time. So grab your coffee and let's get into it. This is From the Desk with Jada Montemarano, where we bring you the hottest HR news from the desk right to you. And today we have Edan Haddock joining our show, an award-winning leader in the HR space. He's passionate about innovation and showcasing the Australian talent industry on the world stage as the head of talent for Movember and as the chief bander at Rubber Band, an online networking forum featuring community connection and a top podcast. Edan has some interesting titles, so I'm excited to have him here to learn more. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello. Thank you, Jada. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. And what an intro. Getting a big head from that. That was great.
Oh my gosh. Well, you did a lot. You're joining us from Australia. We're so excited. Our first person from Down Under on the show.
Excellent. Greetings from Down Under, and just amazing to be here. And we somehow got the time zones happening, we were talking about that, but there you go.
It worked. Luckily, we're both awake in daytime for both of us today.
That's right.
So we have to start with your career that I mentioned. We had some fun words in there: Movember, banders, Rubber Band. Give us a little bit of a brief overview, Edan, of what you do, and then we're going to break it down.
Oh, look, I'm one of those people that had an unusual pathway to HR, really. I was actually a florist until I was 30, so I'm a highly creative individual, as you can imagine. And I sold my flower shop during the global financial crisis, and I ended up moving into a HR, I'd call it a call centre, really, taking first-line inquiries, and my career went from there. I was really drawn to the recruitment side of HR, the talent side of HR. Love seeing people blossom in their careers. See the pun there with blossom, right? I'm getting it. I'm firing punches. It was accidental as well. But no, really, I then, commenced a career in agency recruitment, moved internal, and my career has really just taken off. I feel, the florist days are always going to be a part of what I do. That's my hobby. And yeah, I am now the head of talent for Movember, and Movember is a cause I'm incredibly passionate about. We're really around changing the face of men's health, and the primary areas we focus on are testicular cancer, prostate cancer, and mental health. But there is a wide gamut of activity that all falls under those umbrellas. So I feel like I've kind of found my purpose after quite a long, twisty road journey to where I'm going. I just love, making a difference and making an impact. And you talk about, Rubber Band earlier as well, and what Chief Bander means. I mean, Rubber Band is really an online support community for people working in talent and recruitment, and that really came about during COVID. So I've kind of in my mid-40s now found my purpose and loving life and getting, I've got a reason to get out of bed every day, which is fabulous.
From flowers to mustaches, I love it. You're rocking a big one. Did that come with the new job or with it fell into place?
Oh, look, I've always done Movember. I've always been really connected to Movember. I lost my uncle to mental health. He passed away the same year that Movember launched.
Wow.
And so every year I've grown the moustache and I've raised funds because I really do believe in the cause. This year in November, I raised the moustache and raised funds, and it remains.
I love it. I love the look.
Because it's going to get. I'm not a overly hairy man, but, I think I'm rocking it. It's got a bit of a porn star.
When you work for the cause, you have to, right?
That's right. And it's a powerful thing just to have a moustache. It's not all about raising money. Some of it is just that visibility. I was recently in Scotland. My father-in-law has dementia and he's in a hospital ward. And there were 3 other men in the ward. One of them had a moustache, and he said to me, "Your moustache is coming along." And we had a really great chat. And, he's, someone that was, suffering, Alzheimer's or dementia. I'm not sure which, but he was in that ward. And it just opened up that conversation. The moustache really connected us. And
it helps you spread the
joy.
cause as well.
Yeah. I think it's just, talking about health and talking about how you're feeling and how you're doing. And we connected over our moustaches. It's a pretty powerful thing.
And what I found to be so interesting, we touched on a little bit offline, is the fact a lot of people know what Movember is. They know the cause, they know the charity, what it's for, but you never think, oh, we need to hire people to work here, right? You never think of the recruitment aspect. So can you explain a little bit about that for people listening? Maybe they're part of companies that you wouldn't think needed to be recruited for, or people are looking for jobs right now. I'm thinking outside the box of where they can work. So talk about what it's like to recruit for a charity.
Yeah, and it is really different. I mean, I've come out of corporate. I was doing my recruitment career in the corporate space. This is the first time I've worked for a not-for-profit or a charity. And, I'll, just to be blunt about it, my previous role was a Murdoch company. So it was a lot about making money, really great culture, great people. But at the end of the day, it was, you were working for the shareholders and, that's great. I think, what people don't realise about Movember, I think everyone now knows Movember. It was born out of Australia, and two guys, having a drink that, had lost, one of their fathers was going through cancer. And, we are a global charity. We're funded by people like, as I described, growing moustaches or our Mo-Sisses that are, doing steps challenges through Movember. It's not all about, men, and it's big. But what people don't realize is that we actually fund the work that we do. It's, sometimes people will say to me, oh, I thought Movember raised money and then allocated that to various other charities. But we actually have our own institute that are doing clinical research in terms of curing prostate or testicular cancer. We have researchers that are tackling mental health. We've got programs of work. One example that springs to mind is the connection between prostate and testicular cancer, sexual health, and mental health. And, it's that ongoing cycle of how they're all interconnected. We fund research grants for people within universities or research facilities. Like we actually do the work. So we've got to employ the people to do the work. And then you need people like me that can empower the people to do the work, right? So you've got a head office function, and then you've got all these amazing people that are out there supporting our marketing initiatives, helping grow. We've raised over $1 billion for men's health, and we're not stopping now, right? And we've got all those people that are out there engaging in community, engaging within universities, engaging with youth to try and get them, empowered to make a difference. And it's so much bigger. It's, I'm recruiting in the United Kingdom, the United States, in Canada, in New Zealand, in Australia, in Ireland. Like it's a huge movement. It's a huge charity, and just doing incredible work. It's very fulfilling and helps, all of us get out of bed every day to know that we're making such a huge difference. Very different to the money-making corporates, right?
Well, that's exactly what I was going to ask. You teed me up for my next question perfectly. You mentioned yourself, you went from that corporate money-making to working for a charity. So if there are people listening right now who maybe want to make a career change, maybe don't want that corporate grind, want to look into something different, what do you recommend they do to look for those jobs and land those jobs?
I think there's a mindset in the first instance when it comes to this, because, quite often with charities and not-for-profits, right, we run lean because we want the funds that we're raising to, impact health for us, men's health, right? So the salaries may not be aligned to what you're on in corporate, and you certainly won't be receiving your, big annual bonuses based on how much revenue that you're driving or whatever. But I think that mindset around it is okay to go to a charity and to work for a charity to make a difference and have that as something that you can reflect on in your life, but also something that you can have on your portfolio to say, I spent 18 months with Movember. I contributed to a change when it comes to cancer research, a change when it comes to mental health. I'm really proud of the work that I did. I really helped their cause. and now I'm going to go back to corporate. And even as HR professionals, that's a mindset shift as well, because we're very focused in most organizations on retention, right? But it's okay to have an employee base that are coming in to do something really powerful and really meaningful and then return to their corporate world. So I think if you can afford to do that, there's something really satisfying about knowing the impact and the purpose of your work beyond the paycheck and beyond the bonus, and know that you can walk away from that gig knowing you've actually, contributed to changing the world. I mean, there's nothing more powerful, right?
Totally. And I think when you mention it that way and you explain the job that way, what are you looking for when you're recruiting talent? I know it's a little bit different because you also recruit for researchers, and that's a completely different aspect of it. But when you're looking for the general employee, not in the science part of it, when it comes to maybe a charity or not profit, what are you looking for in your talent?
Yeah, because you're absolutely right. It's much more obvious when you're looking at researchers, right? Because they've got the experience, the publications, all of that are aligned to what we do. For the general population, I want to hear the story behind it. As I described, we hire a lot of people that come out of corporate. I receive, I mean, in this market, it might be a little bit different. As we know, it's a bit of a tough market for job seekers, but, hundreds and hundreds of applications per role. I want to hear the why more than I want to see the skills and experience. I mean, when it comes to a CV, I mean, I can look at someone's LinkedIn profile and I can see that they've got the experience. I don't spend so much time honing in on, okay, they've ticked all these boxes of the PD. I want to hear why, and those personal stories really touch me, and they really open up those conversations. I have a friend that has, gone through testicular cancer. It was a really terrible time for my friend's loved ones. And, the real face of men's health isn't always just the man, right? We all have men in our lives, whether that's husbands, brothers, uncles, colleagues, friends, right? So for people to be able to support their application, to tell me the why do they want to come in? Because I know those people are going to be really connected to what we do, really passionate about what we do, and really engaged and doing powerful and meaningful work. That to me is more valuable than years of experience, qualifications, because I know they're going to come in and because that's what they want to do. They see the power and the impact that we have. So yeah, that's really what I look for. The skills are always going to be there. If we're recruiting technology people, I need to know their coding language. I need to know, all of that, right? But the story is definitely pivotal for me, in terms of what I look for.
And you're talking about candidates' stories and how that impacts them. We also know that you create community through Rubber Band, where I'm sure people are sharing their stories and networking. So first off, if people have never heard of it before, can you explain what Rubber Band is and what being the chief bander means?
I know. And Bander was a nickname that just came about and it kind of stuck. I set up Rubber Band during COVID because the recruitment industry in Australia and I'm assuming globally were really heavily impacted when organisations had said, okay, we're not going to hire during this period. Economic uncertainty. We don't know how long this pandemic's going to go on for. So a lot of people were made redundant or stepped down from their roles. And again, that mental health side, people were really suffering. And I set up a Facebook group for my friends because I had all these chats going on with my friends in the industry that were going through a rough time. And I was seemed to have been the fortunate person that was still employed. And I just thought, I've got to do something about this, right? I'm so lucky that I'm getting up every day and still doing my work, and so many others aren't. And I just felt dreadful about that, right? It was almost like survivor's guilt. So I set up a little group on Facebook just for my friends. I think there were about a dozen of us, and then it just grew and grew and grew, and it's now 2,000. And it's open to anyone that works in recruitment and talent or HR. And anyone out there, whatever country you're joining from today, please join. Rubberbands.com.au. Go in there and join the group. It really is an amazing group. We're just there to support and empower each other. Recruitment's a tough gig. Like, we're on a roller coaster. We stretch our emotions from we're elated to devastated, and we do that every hour, right? It's like, so just having that support network around you to get through that. And you could just say, hey, I need some advice. I'm struggling to find a candidate in this space, or hey, my tech stack isn't working for me. Can anyone recommend, a good, HR system that will do background checks, whatever it might be. It's just having people there that can help. But also, if you're having a bad day, just to say, guys, I'm having a really crap day. And people going, hey, you got this. And there's something in that, right? Just being able to talk. And it's hard in our jobs in HR. We're there to support everyone else, and we forget about ourselves. So
where's the HR for HR?
Exactly. So it really is just it's a support networking group, and it's a load of fun. Like, I'm really proud of it. It doesn't generate there's no financial connection to it. It's a completely voluntary group that I set up, and so there's no, I suppose, connections to organisations or connections to sponsors or anything like that. It's just a really lovely grassroots community group that I encourage everyone to join. You'll love it.
And you've been giving some tips today about people who are looking for jobs, right? But you have this network for recruiters already. So I guess maybe in all of your experience, or now this networking platform that you've created, what are the best ways for recruiters to continuously improve their careers, develop, change, especially now? We didn't talk about it too much today, but there's a lot of new technology in the recruitment world as well. So what are your tips for recruiters just to keep up with everything and keep on the ball?
Jeez, that's a big question, Jade. It's a really big question. I think, we need to, if we're not already, we need to embrace AI and get rid of a lot of our administrative tasks. We're coming into a world, I think people are frightened of this AI world that, it's going to take away the work that we do, right? And I think we need to look at this in a different way. We need to elevate our human skills, and we need to automate and embrace AI to do our administrative. Now, what that means is that, like I described, I can have deeper conversations with human beings in terms of why they want to come to Movember and why they want to make a difference in the world. And it means that I can be doing less of the screening through CVs and sending individual emails and all of that kind of stuff, right? I can interview now and I can get that all transcribed, so I don't need to spend half an hour after an interview summarizing my notes and presenting that back to the hiring manager, right? Like, I can get all of that done, which means that when I'm having those conversations, I can go really, really deep into the connection and the purpose. So I think what we need to focus on is elevating those human skills, and what could I be doing more to connect more with people? How can I have more interaction with people? How can I really look at talent from a global mindset as well? Because we are operating in a different environment. We don't need to be so narrow in terms of where we get talent from, because it was hard to be able to connect with people all over the world and look at opportunities. If you're in a role like mine, you would quite often have someone on the field that was doing that. But now that we can automate so much, we can actually really have that end-to-end total talent management, where we're not just focused on one region. We can look at an organization as a whole. So I think there's so much more we're going to be able to do as technology advances and as we embrace AI more. And the power of the person in HR and the power of the conversation is just going to get stronger and stronger. And I think that's a really positive thing for our industry. And I'm already feeling the benefits of that now. So who knows where we'll be in a couple of years, right? We need to remember that.
Everything is so rapidly changing. And to wrap up our conversation with you today, I always love to end with a little piece of advice for future job seekers out there. We know the industries, as I mentioned earlier, are kind of all over the place in the job world. So, what is one major tip you could give to those looking for jobs right now to survive and land that role?
So I've got a controversial one. So there might be some recruiters that
Ooh.
actually go, "Oh, what are you on about, Eden?" I'm feeling the rebirth of the cover letter versus the CV,
Ooh.
and I'm spending more time reading cover letters than I am reading CVs now. Again, I think this is around that connection to purpose. It's very easy to apply for on own case. In fact, there are bots that will apply for the role for you. You give them
Yep.
a CV and it'll apply for 200 roles, right? So, right. So we
I've
don't want
learned through this show that people do that.
I know, it's absolutely mental. So that's the other side of AI that, could make our lives a lot more difficult. But I think if you're a job seeker, to stand out from that noise, just as a step one in 2025, because things will look different in the future, but in 2025, if you can write a cover letter, quite often there's the option now within your application to record a short video to talk about your connection and why you're interested in this role. Connect to the purpose of the organization. And it's okay if the purpose of that organization is to make money, right? So talk about, I'm really hungry to be successful and I want to make money. And that's cool because that's, the purpose of some businesses. It doesn't need to be like a Movember that is a charity. But I think that's what it's all about, personalization, because we're getting to the point now that we can see the 200 CVs that have been sent to 200 other employees that have been generated by an AI bot, right? So the power of the story, the power of the person behind the application, personalize it as much as you can, and talk. You can talk through a cover letter.
I was happy when the cover letters went away, but I understand why they need to come back. When I was in college, that was all that mattered was the cover letter. But thank you so much, Eden, for coming today and sharing your wisdom with us. We appreciate it.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on. And first Aussie guest,
Yes.
you'll never forget me.
I will not, crushing it, especially with all of your chief rubber duckying banders. Rubber band.
Rubber duckying, love
I
it.
gave you a new name, Rubber Ducky. Well, thank you so much, Eden. And thank you, everyone else, for joining us today. You can catch us every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. If you're hungry for other Purple Acorn shows, you can head to purpleacornnetwork.com and Purple Acorn on LinkedIn. We'll see you next time on From the Desk with me, Jada.
Thanks, Jada.